Championship windows close aggressively. They especially close aggressively when organizations hit that panic button. And this week, Cleveland made it clear that patience is no longer their plan. So did this trade that they made recently involving Darius Garland and James Harden a win now move, aggression, or panic? Welcome back to State of the League. My name is Ramsey, and as I said before, I really think that we should focus on this trade that the Cleveland Cavaliers made with the LA Clippers involving James Harden and Darius Garland. Now, outside of this trade, we already know this trade deadline this year brought a lot of exciting trades and a lot of new teams. But this one in particular, I think is going to have ramifications on both the East Coast and the West Coast. Now, we all know that this trade did include a 2026 second round pick, but I'm more so focused on the players themselves, more so specifically Garland and James Harden. Now, Darius Garland, he was in the third year of a 5-year, $197 million contract with the Clippers. And he was also a proven two-time All-Star that was on a number 1 seeded Cleveland Cavaliers team just last year. Why would you trade him, in my opinion? But when we look at James Harden, I understand that, in fact, it is James Harden, but also on the flip side of that coin, it's James Harden. Now, I get it from Cleveland's standpoint. It's a win now move. I know he is an immediate, game-proven, battle-tested, elite playmaker that Cleveland can use to utilize Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen to the best of their abilities, and hopefully improve that offensive rating to compete in the East. I understand that. But you've already had a proven system and a proven guard that showed you that he can help lead the team to where they need to go. They just had the 1 seed just last year, as we have just discussed. Right. But let's zoom out and take a look at the Eastern Conference since the trade. Cleveland's been cooking since they have had Harden, posting a 6-1 record since the trade has happened, but Harden just currently suffered a right thumb injury that's going to affect his play moving forward. And he's already stated that he's going to play through the injury, but it's still worth noting that that is something that's going to affect not only their play, but their efficiency on the court, and also his availability on if or not he's going to be able to play. That puts a lot of strain on Donovan Mitchell, and that also shows that the strain that this trade has already put on this organization, that has put all of their chips seemingly into the James Harden basket, which we have seen through track records that that's not necessarily the best option that we should do right now. But right now, they are 3 games behind of the second seeded Boston Celtics in the East, so they are competing and they have that cushion to see where they actually land in the playoff standings. And if I'm Cleveland, I want home court advantage. I hope James Harden is healthy enough to play through that injury to give us home court advantage, to give us the best opportunity to win a ring. So I'm actually really pulling for them because of how the Eastern Conference is. I see that it's almost wide open. Outside of Detroit, I can see this Cleveland Cavaliers beating any team between the Celtics, the Knicks, the Raptors, the 76ers, the Magic. I think that they are that strong of a team, but we also have to just wait and see how this injury for James Harden is going to affect his play moving forward. Now, also during this stretch when the team had acquired James Harden, they boasted a very high-powered offense, ranking 3rd in the league with a 121 offensive rating. So it's proven that the James Harden effect does work when he is available and on the court. And he also has a lot of playmakers and effective pieces on this Cavaliers team to not only make himself better, but his teammates better. In James Harden's time with the Cavaliers, he's averaged 19 points, 4 rebounds, and 8 assists per game, which is not the Harden numbers that we're used to seeing from him, especially compared to what he was doing for the Clippers earlier this season. But it is showing that he is still effective and efficient in maximizing what the Cleveland Cavaliers are trying to do. But not only him, with that being said, he holds a 3-4 record in Game 7s. And now, as we just said, he has never missed the playoffs. But with that being said, he holds a 3-4 record in Game 7s, which is a losing record. We have to say it, which brings questions to his clutch performance abilities when all marbles are on the table. He's averaged 19.5 points per game, but also he has the most playoff games with 10+ shot attempts while making 20% or fewer of those attempts in the 3-point era, and he's had 13 of those playoff games showing those. Let's talk about this move and what both players mean to both organizations and the accolades that they currently bring to the organization. Let's start with Darius Garland. He is a two-time All-Star, three-time Eastern Conference Player of the Week, and an elite playmaker for the #1 seeded Cleveland Cavaliers just a year ago. And when you look at NBA advanced stats, it really shows how effective Darius Garland is as a playmaker, displaying that he consistently ranked in top 10. And according to NBA advanced metrics, he also consistently ranked in the top 10 of assists off drives since the 2021-2022 NBA season, which also alludes to the fact of how effective he is as a playmaker, especially off the dribble. His play was so impressive that Cleveland still decided, and because of this exciting and productive gameplay, Cleveland rewarded Darius with a 5-year, $190 million contract extension, which was the highest in Cavaliers history at the time. Now, let's talk about the man, the myth, the beard, James Harden. NBA MVP 2018, 11-time NBA All-Star, 6-time All-NBA First Team, 2-time All-NBA Third Team, 3-time NBA Scoring Champion, 2-time NBA Assist Leader, 6th Man of the Year. He was on the NBA 75th Anniversary Team, 2010 All-Rookie Team, Olympic Gold Medalist. Need I say more? That's the pedigree of a Hall of Famer. We know what he brings to the table. We know the type of player he is. We know who he is when he is at his peak. He is James Harden. He is the beard. There is no taking away from who James Harden is as not only a professional, but as a superstar in this league, as he has proven to be over the past decade and some change. When you look at, let's take a look at the teams after the trade. More so Cleveland with Harden and Mitchell on the court. Mitchell is still going to be Donovan Mitchell. He's the high-volume scorer, usually the man with the ball in his hands in the fourth quarter and taking over in most clutch situations. James Harden is taking the role of the elite playmaker, setting up all of his teammates to succeed while also being a potent offensive threat on the same side of the ball as well. The perfect Swiss Army knife to put alongside Donovan Mitchell, especially come playoff time. And believe it or not, they became the first Cavaliers duo in the play-by-play era to each score 15 points in the same fourth quarter. Not LeBron James, not Kyrie Irving, Donovan Mitchell, and James Harden. I also really want to talk about the importance of James Harden, what he brings to a team, more so how he has helped elevate Jarrett Allen's performance as a professional on this team as well. So since James Harden has joined the Cleveland Cavaliers, Jarrett Allen is averaging 22 points and almost 11.5 rebounds per game with 75% field goal efficiency. Before that, he was averaging 14.5 points and 8 rebounds. That is the type of performance that superstar players can bring out of other players. And it's important to note that on how important James Harden is to this team, but he also has to be available to produce this type of performance and elevation of other assets of this team. Now, just last year, the Cavaliers were known as arguably the best defense in the league, or one of the best defenses in the league. And even turning over to this year and this season, they were still top 5 in defensive efficiency coming into the league. But since then, they're currently 12th in the NBA, averaging about 110 points allowed per game, which is definitely different from the top 5 performance that they were giving earlier this year. Now, they have made adjustments with Dennis Schroeder and Dean Wade, but obviously injuries come into play as well, because you have Evan Mobley, who's been dealing with injuries, and also Dean Wade as well. And they're managing the lineups in the best way that they can with, like I said, Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis filling in the roles of Evan Mobley and Dean Wade when they were injured, currently are still injured, trying to fight for that playoff positioning and see if they can still remain efficient enough to secure home court advantage. I do want to talk about James Harden's vitality as a professional, since he has now requested 4 trades from 3 teams in 4 years, with the Rockets, the Nets, the 76ers, and the Clippers, establishing a pattern of forcing exits for either contention or financial reasons. We all know what James Harden does. There's no question about his professional ability on what he does as a professional on the court. But what we always talk about is his off-court comments and trades, and we always question how he handles his business as a professional when it comes to requesting trades. It always seems like you will always keep him happy for now. He's here for a good time, not a long time. So are we about to sit here and expect that the same thing is not liable to happen with the Cavaliers if things don't go the way that he feels that they should? Very possible. And to mention, he is going to have a player option after this upcoming season. So that means that the time is of the essence for the Cavaliers to not only secure their playoff future and their championship aspirations, but to secure the asset that they just traded part of their core for. Now let's think about it this way. What happens if it works? Cleveland will compete for a ring. They might win one. James Harden will opt in, maybe sign an extension, and see where the Cavaliers go from their contention and how they do this year in the playoffs. But that's a best case scenario. And we all know that James Harden is a very volatile asset to judge, especially after playoff losses. So unless he goes to the finals, I think that it'll be more of the same, where he opts out of the player option and or requests a trade because he found either a better situation or he's going to retire. But I think it's going to be the former or the latter. When it comes to the Clippers though, they get to complete for a playoff spot. They're currently fighting for the playoff play-in right now. The Clippers, for example, are currently fighting for a playoff spot. They're currently sitting 9 right now in the playoff standings, and that's without Darius Garland, who is also set to make his debut this week. And we will see how the mesh of Kawhi Leonard and Darius Garland meshes to see how that will allude to a possible playoff trip for the Clippers as well. And I have full confidence that Darius Garland and the talent that he possesses, along with the superstar talents of Kawhi Leonard, can help get the Clippers into a playoff situation to where they will be a team that nobody wants to play in the first round. But like I said, what happens if it works? I think Darius continues to evolve into the perennial all-star guard that he was already evolving to when he was with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I do think that the mesh of Darius Garland and Kawhi Leonard is very exciting, also depending on how the Kawhi Leonard situation will pan out into the Clippers, as well as this alleged deal that he had with Aspiration. But that aside, I think regardless on whether Kawhi Leonard is there or not, Darius will continue to shine regardless of the Clippers situation because he is that talented of a guard. Now, just for the record, if the Clippers are found guilty by the NBA, those ramifications could be tremendous. We can reference the 1999 situation with the Timberwolves, where they had to suffer a $3.5 million fine and lost 5 first-round picks. That is also on the table, and they have also heard rumors of voiding Kawhi Leonard's contract completely, which will make him a free agent, which also means his tenure as a Clipper will more than likely be over. Now let's talk about what happens if it fails. If the Clippers situation fails, more than likely it's either in a playoff loss, a disappointing playoff loss at that, where James Harden more than likely opts out of his player option and or requests a trade, which follows his track record up to this point, so we should not be sitting here and expecting otherwise if that is the case. But regardless of the situation, as I said before, I think the Clippers situation, regardless of what happens with Kawhi Leonard, and regardless on if the Clippers make the playoffs or not, I think Darius Garland is going to be a centerpiece and going to continue to shine for them moving forward. I imagine best case scenario for the Clippers, Darius Garland and Kawhi Leonard goes to the playoffs. They win a couple of games. It might even force a Game 7 or an upset against whomever they may run into in the Western Conference. Or Kawhi Leonard gets hurt, or he doesn't play in the playoffs. The Clippers fall out of the play-in tournament, but Darius Garland continues to show that he can be the elite playmaking guard that you're going to build around in the future. So I think that it's a win-win situation for the Clippers and the asset that they were able to obtain from the James Harden trade, knowing how volatile his situation is when it comes to keeping him happy and staying on a team for more than 3 seasons since leaving the Rockets. Honestly though, I think this isn't really a basketball trade. I think this is a timeline gamble. The Cavaliers made it, in my opinion, this is a timeline gamble for the Cleveland Cavaliers and maximizing this win-now window that they believe that they currently have with their current roster. They were the #1 seed just last year. They traded one of their core pieces to obtain a piece that they think will be able to get them over the hump in the Eastern Conference, hopefully into the finals and hopefully win a ring. Understand the standpoint that the Cleveland Cavaliers have from this. Maybe this is a sense of them trying to keep Donovan Mitchell in Cleveland, knowing that his impending contract status is about to be in question as well. Maybe this is going to be a situation where it's a win-win for Cleveland, and they might also even get LeBron next year, because we've heard that conversation numerous times before as well. So the possibilities are endless for the Cleveland Cavaliers, but it definitely depends on the structure, on how they feel this gamble is going to pay off for them. In essence, Cleveland just traded stability for volatility. And I don't know, when you look at it, Cleveland really just traded their stability for volatility in a win-now gamble. They're really rolling the dice. All chips in, no questions asked. And I think that that's all that we have. And now all we do is wait and see how it works out. Thanks for joining me, and this is State of the League.